a good financial team. So fortunately, it's no longer my problem.
When your families you mentioned the last several big birthdays, there's always been a project or for example, your book came out, or this, a new project in January for the Israel, to get to know the diaspora kids and the diaspora Jews. That was your last big project. So is that still the thing for your 90th, or is there something new that your family or you are doing?
I think I'm through with project. That's going to be the last one.
How is that going? And tell us a bit more about what your involvement is.
It's going better than we'd hoped, actually. We have some new financiers who are involved. The new president, the incoming president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, is very taken with it. We believe that Nachman Shai, the minister of diaspora affairs, used to be the Jewish agency. Nachman is very interested. The education department in Israel is interested. We have some federations in North America who have been participated in our one-to-one program. We have a whole school set up that's going to get into effect in September. So it's starting. It has a long, long way to go. I won't be alive when it's really, really popular. But, as said in the Bible or wherever it said, you got to start. You got to do it. And you can't complete it, but you got to get it going.
So was COVID an obstacle to getting this thing done in Israel because all the schools were closed in North America too, or no?
Well, actually, yes and no. Of course, it was a hindrance, but it gave us more time to plan and more contacts to make.
So the big launch will be September for the full school year.
Big launch, small launch. There's not going to be anything big. This is something that's going to, not even going to be a soft opening. It's just going to happen. And after a while, it'll get quite popular.
Why do you think that this is important to create these ties? I mean, we have Shinshinim and there's Shlichim, and there's of course, Birthright comes the other way, where there's a lot of mifgashim going. So, I mean, why particularly this way to do the sort of a, like you said, one-to-one? Why is that necessary?
We believe, and we have a lot of research to back it up, that Israelis and North Americans really don't know each other as people. We know each other as Israel, the defender of the Jewish people and the defender of Israel. We know the diaspora as people who either love Israel or embarrassed by Israel, the younger generation. But we don't know each other as people. For instance, the Birthright participants get to Israel. They meet the people from the army, from the IDF, and they're amazed. These are not people with horns on their head. These are not people who like to shoot people. These are people their own age, love the same music, love the same kind of stuff, love to dance, love to have a good time, and hate what they're doing. The Israelis, on the other hand, find that these are not just rich, if you pardon the expression, Americans, but these are real human beings, and that there is a Jewish life outside of Israel. Now, that's what we want to do. I believe solely and totally and 100% that there is one Jewish people. And unless we come to grips with that, we're going to fade away.
People might be worried about the potential for the Israeli kids to want to move to the diaspora instead of staying in Israel, right? And sort of diluting the population there. That's not your worry? That's not your goal?
Hasn't happened. I know many Israelis, and I know many of their youngsters. They go into the IDF. They are so proud of themselves. They love their country. They love their country more than Canadians love Canada. I can tell you that.
Will this be something that will be also connected to Birthright at all, or is it going to operate completely separate? There won't be chances for them to meet.
Well, everybody meets everybody. It's a Jewish world. Everybody meets everybody. But at the moment, they're certainly separate. One is more in the school system. I would imagine that because the school system systems will be involved, and kids in the school will be involved. That will increase even the participation in Birthright.
Now, I know Canada didn't have any this spring because of COVID. I know the States started up again with Birthright, as far as I can tell.
Yes.
But there was a seminar, I'm not sure you were aware of it, June the 6th here in Canada. It was obviously on Zoom by Canadian Friends of Peace Now, and it was called Beyond Birthright. Are you aware of that movement?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts about the expanding the narrative for people who, as you said, are embarrassed by Israel?
Well, I don't know if it's Birthright that should be doing it. I don't think so. I think Birthright is in its own business and does a heck of a good job. If others want to take up from what Birthright has been doing, God bless them. But we are not shills for Israel. Our business is to, I can't say convert, but to assure Jews that being Jewish is cool, that being part of the Jewish people is good, and that having an emotional attachment to Israel is fine. Now, we're not going beyond that because it's worked so well. If others want to go beyond that, God bless them.
What is your relationship with the new president, and what is the relationship with the new prime minister of Israel?
Frankly, I don't have much of a relationship with the new prime minister. We know each other. That's about it. I do know the other prime minister much better. I know Lapid quite well. We're on a first name basis, and I admire him a lot. Bennett was too far to the right for me, but I think he's moderating his views, and who knows? I hope that he'll become another Begin, but you never know. You never know.
Tell me more about what you hope to see coming out of Israel in the near future after a spring of hostilities and continued hostilities.
Well, you hope for quiet. You hope that they can do what they want to do with this new government, which is to get the country back on its feet. If you had a country that didn't have a budget for over 2 years, and many of the ministries were in disarray, just to get that back and going. As you know, they're not going to discuss very controversial things that might cause the coalition to break up. They're going to be very circumspect about what they discuss. But gradually, they'll come closer together. And I would not be surprised if other people joined in to the government. And I think it'll last beyond the 6 months, year or 2 years that people are talking about. I think, and it's partly hope, yes, that this government will stay in for at least 3 years and get things going. You never know what's going to happen from the outside, but from the inside, I think it'll be a stable government.
You're still a two-state solution guy.
Very much.
That's not changed, has it?
Has not, because it's the only solution that's possible. There is no other solution. Maybe I wish there was, but there isn't. The Palestinians / Arabs are not going to go anywhere. The Israelis / Jews are not going to go anywhere. So by God, you better do something about it and have both sides have some future. And there is no question that the arrangements have been made, and they were made a while ago, that Israel will have total security. And you got a situation now with Hezbollah and Hamas and some of the other really bad guys with missiles surrounding the country. That's going to end. Somehow or other, it's got to end, because if the Iron Dome, God bless it, can knock down 90% of the missiles that are fired, say at Tel Aviv, and let's say they fire 1,000 missiles, and let's say that 900 are knocked down, that means 100 missiles hit Tel Aviv. This is called God forbid.
You were mentioning earlier that there are some people in the diaspora, young people, who are embarrassed by Israel. Why is Israel having such a hard time, in your opinion, with public relations at the moment? And are some of these embarrassments a bit justified too?
Well, I remember my dear friend Martin Indyk, when he was ambassador to Israel, he said, look, and people were bitching and moaning about the Hasbara. And he said, look, you put a guy on a tank with a machine gun, pointed at a kid walking along the street, game over. What happened was, when I was young, and when Morty was younger, when your grandfather was younger, Israel was David. The Arabs were Goliath. As of 1982, with the first incursion into Lebanon, Israel started to, and then eventually did become Goliath. And the Arabs, Palestinians particularly, became David. So there was a huge turnaround. And I think that people not have misunderstood, but they immediately say that Israeli Jews are like the South Africans and so on. Now, I will admit, and it breaks my heart, that Arab citizens in Israel, in my view, are not first-class citizens. And I think there's only one kind of citizenship, and that is first class. The occupation, we don't like the occupation. Nobody wants to be an occupier. But why is it? Because there's no peace. Because the Arabs and the Palestinians have been offered 3 very good deals, very good deals. And you can build on those deals. But Arafat turned it down, Abbas turned it down, and now what are you going to do? The status quo is untenable, but peace is elusive. You need to have, in my opinion, 2 leaders like Sadat and Begin, like Rabin and King of Jordan, who are committed to peace and are brave enough and courageous enough to see it through. That does not yet exist on either side. Certainly Abbas is not going to be a peacemaker. And he's almost as old as I am.
So why can't some of your projects be towards that? The Hasbara, as well as the host the peace summit. I'm just throwing this out there.
Because we've never gone in that, but there are organizations. There's Peace Now. There's the Labour Party, Canadian and American Friends of the Labour Party. There are lots of organizations doing that. We are in the business of helping Jews become Jewish. That's all. I think the reason that Birthright's been so successful is that its goal is very simple. There's no convolution. There's no intimidation. There's no nothing. There's come see. If you like it, enjoy it. If you don't like it, your loss.
Right. I know in Canada this year, and I've covered it a lot, the spike in online hatred, anti-Semitism, the vilification of Israel. It's been I wrote a story about it and interviewed a campus. I mean, my kids are in school, so I know too, but I wrote a story about it for the Canadian Jewish News that they're being deluged with hate here in Canada. Just last week on the University of Western Ontario Muslim Students Association, I don't know if you saw, they called for all Zionist narrative to be banned from campus. And the school wouldn't reply to me. Of course, the Muslim students wouldn't reply to me. This is the stuff that Canadian kids are dealing with as well. I'm sure it's happening in the States as well. So what can you do about this problem, which is the fact that being Jewish is not cool in Canada anymore for that age kid?
Well, Canada is not cool in the United States. Look, we have a very, very difficult road to hoe over the next few years. The only way that it's going to stop being intimidating towards us is if there are moves towards peace. The status quo will be awful. And I think that what happened in the Gaza situation recently it really let the genie out of the bottle. The genie was in the bottle. And one of the people I can blame for this whole mess is Donald Trump. Now, where does Donald Trump come to Jews? Donald Trump did something that is so heinous that it's beyond description. We all have prejudice inside ourselves. You do, I do. We dislike certain things, but there are layers of civility that have been built up over the generations to stop us from being hostile. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump comes along and says the word hate is fine. You hate, you want to hate somebody, hate. So all of a sudden, he took all those layers of civility and blew them away. So now people are free to hate. Terrible.
I have to ask, are you a Habs fan still, or are you now the Mets or the Rangers or whatever?
I'm always a Habs fan, but I tell you the truth, I've been away from Montreal for so long that I don't even know the players anymore.
Are you watching though? Are you watching the games to see if they go all the way?
No. I get it all from Stephen and Sam. Stephen, my son, and Sam, my grandson. So I live vicariously through them.
All right. You mentioned Stephen. So let's talk about that. How are the negotiations going to bring a team back to a baseball team back to Montreal?
Oh, you have to ask Stephen. Seriously, I do not interfere in that.
Are you for it?
Of course I'm for it. I'm for it if the economics work out. The economics are getting a little bit crazier every day, but apparently he claims that they have a good financial team. So fortunately, it's no longer my problem.
Look, it was a pleasure to talk to you again, and thanks a lot for doing this. Happy birthday. I'm sure people told you Ad Mea Vesrim, so I don't know. What does that mean to you? Do you want it?
I figure that at 119, I renegotiate.
Good answer. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.